Oh, yeah, that is Rude Boy George, and always something there to remind me from their brand new album, Confessions, which my understanding is it doesn't officially become released till December the 5th, but you can already pick this up on CD, baby. I've seen that, and we're lucky enough that we actually have Rude Boy George here on the phone. I have Roger and Meg, both lead singers of Rude Boy George, on the line. How are you guys today?
Good.
That's great. That's great. Here, I'm just going to see if I can adjust some of this volume there. Maybe that's a little bit better. How's that?
Yeah, sure. I hear you fine.
All right, great. It was just more of the listeners being able to hear you. All right, so yeah, we got Rude Boy George here all the way from New York. And, I mean, you're still in New York. They're not calling from, they're not calling, they're not in here from New York. Although, however, just a couple weeks ago, we had the Slackers and Sammy K playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we it's kind of weird. Our radio station is actually in the basement of a bar in a club called the Queens, and the Slackers came and played. They actually were here a year ago and came back because I guess the show went so well that they had decided to come back, and they brought Sammy K, and it was, instead of the East Coast 3, it was like the Fast 4, and
Right.
And yeah, they all came in amazing, and it was great. We got like a bunch of new music from them, and I'm actually Facebook friends with like Jay and David Hilliard and all that kind of stuff. So I think they were kind of weirded out because I knew who they all were before they played. So I was like, "Oh, hey, Dave, how's it going?" Dave played at last year's Ska Fest in Victoria.
Right.
In Victoria, we have a big ska festival, and they've been in on the island a couple times for that kind of stuff. And I knew who they all were. I think they were kind of weirded out that I kind of knew them. It was like I knew what they looked like. I was like, oh, there's Jason, and then actually David Hilliard. I'm filling in. This is the Lovecast. Everybody who's tuning into the radio. This is the Lovecast, normally hosted by Dave O'Rama. Dave O'Rama is in Toronto at the moment, but David Hilliard looks a little bit. If you put David Hilliard and Dave O'Rama together, they look very similar, other than the fact that David Hilliard has more hair. But they even wear the same hats and all the other shades and all the other kind of stuff. They all very, very look the same. But
Yeah, doppelganger.
so it's like, I know what David Hilliard looks like. He looks like Dave O'Rama. So I'm like, that's easy to pick out of a crowd. I'm like, that's that guy. Now, just for our listeners who don't know, explain, I got Roger and Meg, explain what Rude Boy George is.
Yeah, so I'll start and Megg can fill in. So, a few years back, I guess it's about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, Mark, who's the bass player of Bigger Thomas, and Steve Schaefer, who's used to run Moon Records and is a ska blogger and DJs and promotes parties. They had this idea of starting for fun, just like a ska reggae band that would do 80s new wave hits, because we love the 80s. So the three of us went to go see Morrissey out in Brooklyn, and we had dinner at this Haitian restaurant across the street, and we're trying to come up with some names, and I had a couple of days to think about it. And, I said, how about a flock of scooters? And they were like, I don't know, stuff that. And then it's like, hey, Rude Boy George. They're like, yeah, that'll work. So, from then on, we're like, who can we get to, who do we want to play with? And, Meg's name, and across the aisle came up, immediately, because we played a couple of shows with them at Bigger Thomas, and, Meg's name came up, and we had our guitarist at the time, the Bigger Thomas, guy named Spencer, who was involved, and our drummer, Jim. So we just started with that, and then Dave Barry, who was part of the Toasters, he joined in, and then fast forward a year later, we had some personnel changes. Now we have, Jesse Gosselin from across the aisle. He plays guitar for us, and then, kind of Megg and Jackie Chase, who plays sax for us and does vocals. They're kind of like a set. You can't have Megg without Jackie. And she's been great. And through the association of that, Pam Buckley, who plays keyboards for the Royal Swindle, which is a band that Jesse also plays guitar in, and they do covers, ska covers. I forgot, what are these ska covers of, Megg? Is it new wave stuff?
Oh my gosh, everything from the Mad Caddies to, like all the classic stuff, like, Toots and the Maytals stuff.
Yeah. So, and, we just started off just, our EP was kind of like one of our first few songs that we learned that kind of locked in together, and we found out through the process that not all, there's some new wave songs you hear, you just automatically think will be great ska songs or reggae songs until you actually rehearse them, and then they don't sound as exciting as you thought they would. So,
give me an example of that.
The perfect example, I always bring it up, is Billy Idol's White Wedding. We just thought that would be a really good straight-ahead ska tune, and we played it, and it didn't sound very different from the original. And what we're trying to do with this project and with this band is we want to feel like we want to add our influence onto the song and modify it in a way that makes it ours, and not necessarily be a straight cover of the song. And White Wedding just sounded pretty, it just sounded like the original, but with a ska beat, and we just thought they didn't have enough going on with it. However, Eyes Without a Face turned out to be really good because we were able to add like a little rock steady to it, which wasn't there. So, and that's what it started off for kicks. It was fun. It's still fun, but and it's turned into something that's a lot more. We're committed to it, and it's a lot of fun. We put a lot of hard work into it, and it's been great so far.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed your new album, Confessions, has some INXS, some Billy Idol, Eurythmics, has some Naked Eyes. Man, I totally forgot about them. It was like Naked Eyes. I was like, wow. In fact, I have to be honest. I had to look up the song because I'm like, where do I know this song from? And then I was like, Naked Eyes, and I'm like,
Naked Eyes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how is it that you go about choosing the songs for the album? Because I mean, your set list of what you actually perform is a lot larger than the songs that you have on the album. So, what was the process for that?
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, we've suggested so many things. We have a list of about 85 songs that we still haven't even worked on that we want to work on, but not everything is a guarantee that you want to work on, because you start something and you're like, this is such an amazing song, and then you start working on it and it's like, you know what, this song is too good, the original is too good, we can't cover it, we have to stop, we have to put it aside and say, no, we can't do this song because it's just too good. Yeah, so that's kind of how it happens. I feel like we all kind of suggest stuff, and
yeah, I mean, it's just like Meg said. It's just we literally have a Google Doc of about 80 songs of just all these awesome 80 songs that, because we'll meet and we'll have either drinks before or after rehearsal. And we'll be like, right, or we'll send an email, oh, I just heard, on this 80s radio station, song X and song Y. It'd be awesome. So we make this list of 85, and we try to pick 3 to work on. And we just, last rehearsal, we had 3 or 4 songs that we came in with that, one of them, we just did we learned the versions of Kim Wilde's Kids in America.
Cool.
That we're thinking about recording next time we go into the studio. But in addition to that, were a couple other songs that we just were like, like New Orleans Bizarre Love Triangle, we thought would be an awesome song. And I can't say it's not going to ever work, but it's definitely, we have to put a pause on it because we just couldn't get it to sound interesting enough that, like Meg said, and the original, we'll never compete with the original of any song, but we want it to be to the point where people are like, wow, that's a really good imaginative version of that song.
But most of the things we work on, it happens right away. It's magical, and it happens right away.
Yeah.
And if it's not happening, we're trying too hard to make it happen. We go, you know what? We're trying too hard. We can't do this song. It's not going to work. And put it away.
Yeah, some songs come I'd say 99% of the songs that are on the album that we play live come together very quickly. You play it and it's yes, this is good. All right, this, but some songs it's we labor and we put it away and bring it out again, and then somebody has to be honest and say, okay, do we really want to? And it's like, you know what? Let's not do this song. Let's try something else.
I did notice, I mean, your set list, you got, from what I've been looking, not just on your album, but also on, on your Facebook and that, you've got, The Romantics, Soft Cell, Human League, Cyndi Lauper, Talking Heads, Berlin. Obviously, Berlin is on your album, The Pretenders. Yeah. I was kind of curious, though. I noticed with the EP and with this album, I was wondering why the lack of actual Culture Club on the album. It's this Rude Boy George, and I'm like, there's no Boy George, and I'm like, that's really weird. Like, what Culture Club or Boy George songs do you actually do? I was like, there's none. I'm like, I don't know what they do. And it's like I just assumed, because I know, I mean, you did name the band after Boy George, and so I'm like, it's not like it was just like it works because Rude Boy obviously is like a ska or a ska name. Right. But I was like, wait a minute, there's none on here. I was like, oh, the new album. Yeah. I'm like, finally.
Honestly, we do one of the best Boy George songs, which is Church of the Poison Mind.
Okay.
And gosh, I don't know why.
My opinion is, and I don't know, I don't speak for Megg, but I think it's because a lot of the Culture Club stuff is so, some of obviously, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me is pretty much a reggae song as is. So that one we really cannot. We want to do, but we really just can't do because we can't imagine what we could do to that song to make it more reggae or ska than it already is.
Or just better. It's like it could not be better.
Yeah, and
I don't want to knock our band, but it's like, it's so good.
Yeah, it's just it's. If we're going to do a Culture Club song, it's going to have to be really good, and we're going to have to play it really well.
But Church of the Poison Mind is really good. We do a really good version.
We do. It's kind of like a R&B-ish, ska-ish, scatolitis-ish type thing that we used to play early on. We don't anymore. I don't know why. Maybe we should start playing it again.
Well, I mean, and that's one thing.
Let's do it.
That's kind of one thing I did notice about the album was, you're talking about White Wedding as a perfect example. It's like I noticed with the song choices were they're still really good songs or hit songs, but when I think Billy Idol, Moni Moni would probably be the first song I think of, and not Eyes Without a Face or White Wedding or Eyes Without a Face is still a great song, but it's not the first song you think of. I think when you think Billy Idol, obviously when you hear it, you think Billy Idol. I thought, I know Billy.
I think that's what we're trying to do too. Is we don't want to do 80s every pop hit. We don't want to do all the super pop hits. We want to do kind of the deep cuts or the songs that you're like, oh yeah, that's the Billy Idol song that I forgot about. It's
right.
We don't want to be like the karaoke cover band. We want to do stuff that you kind of didn't remember that was done by that artist.
Well, yeah. And I mean, what I can't remember, what song is it that's done by Berlin, again, that you have on the album? Is it Tempted?
The
Metro.
The Metro. I was like, really? I was like, out of all the Berlin songs, you could pick. I'm like, that's the one? I'm like, but it's a great song, but I'm like, when I think Berlin, I think either Sex or Take My Breath Away, which I know We Are Scientists just out in New York also did a cover of Take My Breath Away just recently, and it sounds like a country song.
But that's why we didn't do it.
Yeah.
That was the first song.
So you're not going to hear Blue Monday on.
Yeah.
Everybody covers that.
I mean, you know what? And that's the thing. And this is what the process goes down to. It's and I guess that's why Rude Boy George, has the popularity it does, because we're not going for the quick and easy wins. And we could, and we could, we obviously we could play the songs. It's just, when, there are a lot of 80s tribute and cover bands out there, which are that are awesome. But we want to ride that fine line of, we want to be more a, easy star, all-star type. That's kind of the angle we're going for, is, really reinterpreting known songs as opposed to being, and it's no offense to 80s bands that are going out there and playing straight up covers, but, we want to really, put our stamp on it. And we obviously like the the deep album cuts. We feel like, there are songs that should have got more attention that didn't. And, this is kind of like our way of letting you know, like, yeah, the hits are great, but there's some gems that people may have passed over or skipped over on their album or fast forwarded on their cassette that, you might want to, listen to again.
Well,
we do a cover of a Cyndi Lauper song that no one knows about, and I'm a little younger than all the guys in the band, and not by much, but I brought a Cyndi Lauper song to the table that I was so shocked that none of the guys had heard about.
Yeah.
And, for me to bring something to the table that nobody else had heard about was like, I just felt like pat myself on the back. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah, I mean, we do a song called Witness that is a straight ska song, and we actually play that pretty straight only because nobody's really heard of it. We didn't have to reinterpret it because, I'd say unless you're a diehard Cyndi Lauper fan, you wouldn't have heard the song.
You really wouldn't. Not many people at shows know what it is either, and that's okay.
Yeah, last time we played, we're like, we'll give you a free download card if you could name this song. And people are like,
because you know what? Nobody wants to hear Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Nobody wants to hear a cover of that because the original's so good, and, it's just heard so much.
All these songs,
Heard so much, nobody wants to hear that. You don't need to cover that. It's so good as is.
Right. I mean, what are you going to do, like She-Bop or something? No, I understand.
Right.
Now, Roger, for our listeners that don't know, you're also the lead singer of Bigger Thomas.
Right.
Right. Now, you also have a degree in communications. So, it is my understanding you got your degree from Rutgers University, and then, a month or two later, you were the lead singer of Bigger Thomas?
It was kind of simultaneously. My senior year, right before the summer of my senior year at Rutgers, I joined Bigger Thomas, and while I was finishing up my degree, we were, playing shows and recording, and it was the wildest. Right when I turned 21. My birthday's in June, so I turned 21 that June. I joined the band in July. We had our first show in September, and then while I'm going to school, and I did pretty terribly that year of school. It's probably the worst I've done in my 4 years, just for the record. But so I was getting my degree then, and then right after I graduated, I got a job, working in advertising in the city to pay the bills, and we were just doing the band, 24/7. And we've been, over 25 years, Bigger Thomas, and we're still together. We're kind of like on hiatus because Rude Boy George seems to be the priority right now, which is fine. So Bigger Thomas isn't over yet. We're just focusing on it. Mark and I and Jim have been in Bigger Thomas for over 25 years, so we wanted it's great, but we wanted a break. We wanted to work with other musicians. We wanted to try other music. And right now that's the focus, and hopefully, within the next year or so, we'll dust off the instruments and break out the songs and do a show or two. But until then, Rude Boy George has been, it's been great. It's kind of re-energized my love for music. I've never been in a band with girls before, so that's been awesome, and makeup and costume changes. I'm like, wow, this is great. And,
you're not wearing the makeup, are you?
Not me, but
I like how he was silent there.
Girls have been different vibe, you know. Girls are always like, oh, you know, before we have a show, it's like, after rehearsal, it's like, what are we wearing? I'm like, wow, okay. That's never happened with Bigger Thomas. It's,
No.
You know, the gig's at 7, we'll see you there.
I think literally when we book shows, the moment we book a show, myself, Jackie, and Pam say, what are we wearing?
All right, that's cool.
Very important.
Yeah, it's nice to have girls in the band. It's fun. So.
And Meg, now you went to New York in 2004 as an actor.
Yeah.
You had never been in a band. Did you have any singing experience before you formed Across the Aisle in 2007?
Yeah, sort of, but nothing like professional, I guess. I mean, I sang in high school and chorus in high school and stuff like that, and in college I took some, singing classes and stuff like that, but yeah, I never knew if, like, I could carry a tune, really. I got here, I moved to New York in 2004 as an actor, and it just didn't feel right. I just didn't like being by myself, auditioning by myself, and went, oh, I'm gonna start a band because I like to sing. I think I'm okay. I think I can carry a tune, and I want to audition with, like, a bunch of people, or I want to be a part of something bigger than just me. So.
Yeah. Now, how did Across the Aisle start? Other than that, but I mean, how did you get together as a group?
Literally just Craigslist, you know, like I recorded a couple things, me singing, and made a Facebook page, and then said, hey, here's my Facebook page. I want to start a ska band. This is what I sound like. Go. You know?
I've been hearing a lot more of that lately. Like it's weird. Where I ask bands, how did you guys get together? Oh, Craigslist. And you're like, really? Like, okay. Like, I always thought that was odd. And you've opened for, like, Fishbone and the Mad Caddies and a bunch of groups like that as well, correct?
Yeah, man. I mean, Across the Aisle, we've been together for 7 years. We got together a long time ago, and most of us that are in the band now have been in the band the whole time. And, yeah, we just play shows, man. We just play every show we can play. Yeah, it's been really, really fun. And the Toasters, the Mad Caddies, Fishbone, like, Slackers, everybody, Agent J, like, Sam K, like, we just, we're just trying to stick together with everybody that we know here and just keep the scene alive because it's really hard. That's the other thing, too, is, like, in the last, like, year and a half, it seems like the scene is just kind of seems to be fading out a little bit. So
really?
We're all trying to, it seems like we're all trying to just keep it alive and keep doing what we're doing and make music because that's what we're really good at, and that's what we all really want to do.
Yeah, it's I don't know what's going on in Canada, but I mean, the music industry and the music, live music has changed dramatically since obviously the 80s and the 90s, and there aren't many really good, there aren't many small to mid-sized rooms in New York to play where you can play consistently. Like, when Bigger Thomas started, we had Wetlands and CB's and Continental. There were all these club-sized rooms you can play, you could grow a following. You could start a scene. I saw the Toasters at many of those places, when we started out. I saw Fishbone at those places, and you could play these places and build a following and then move on to the next level, which is like, a 300 to 400 seater and so on. So now, with the advent of, look, let's face it, TV is, when you're getting, 3 trillion pixels and Super HD 5, it's hard to leave the house. The ska scene as we knew it when it was like the 80s and 90s of, people who will just, if you put a ska show on a Friday at a club, every other week, you're guaranteeing 150 people, that doesn't happen anymore. So, and so now it's just a matter of part of the reason why Mark, Mark, and Steve and Wayne Lothian, our producers, part of the reason why we formed CHLY Records is, we know we can't replace the scene, but we're trying to, somehow use that same energy and that same DIY to kind of promote the bands that we like and the music that we want to hear out there.
All right, and now you and Mark have also done a documentary called Ride on the Dance Floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were involved in that. It's basically the history of City Gardens, and the guy who, the director, that Steve Tazi, was a City Gardens fan. He used to see a whole bunch of shows. A long story short, he wanted to make a film about Randy and City Gardens. And and Randy, we had a real, Randy now, I'll say it on record, I'll say it till I die, is he really helped Digger Thomas, he was like, it was like music school. It was like music performing school playing at City Gardens. He was like a musical father figure. We played shows, he critiqued. We learned what time to get there, sound check, everything we know about, how to be professional off the stage and on the stage was from Randy. And he mentioned when they shot the film, like he's like, I want Mark and Roger involved in the film. So we're in there for a couple of minutes, and we did some interview time. But yeah, it's only now we look back on it where we feel honored to be a part of it. It'll never happen again. City Gardens will never happen again. Trenton was a very scary and dangerous city, and the guy brought incredible acts. And the fact that we were able to play there, and that's what we learned. We opened up for, oh my gosh, Yellow Man, Special B, De La Soul, HR from Bad Brains, Boogie Down Productions. We opened up for every Burning Spear. All The Alarm, like all these bands that we would never have a shot at. We opened up for these guys, and that's how we built our following, and we're indebted to them. So, yeah, the film's doing well, and getting some good reviews, and we're all keeping our fingers crossed that it gets picked up by a major distribution, and maybe you'll see it at a theater near you. But for right now, it's making the rounds, and it's been a fantastic. We went to a screening a few months ago, and just seeing all the old City Gardens fans and bands. It's like a high school reunion, but for ska and punk rock people. So it's been great.
Well, hopefully it'll work out well. It's been featured on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, so that's always a nice little boost to get.
Yeah, it's going well. Yeah, it's great.
Cool. So, I'm going to let you go. I'm sure you guys are busy. I know it's 7:30-ish where you are right now. I'm sure you might even, you have a show coming up pretty soon, so I'm sure you're probably...
Yeah, next Saturday, a week from today.
Next Saturday at Beatniks in Worcester, Massachusetts. Is that correct?
It's pronounced Worcester. I'm from Lowell, Massachusetts, so it's kind of like a hometown show for me, in a sense.
Cool.
Yeah. Worcester, Mass.
All right.
Yeah, or Worcester.
Worcester. I forgot the Boston accent.
Welcome to Worcester.
Yeah, in BC, we're not really huge Boston fans, over the last couple of years. That's not really not really, huge. Boston is we don't really like Boston a whole lot.
Yeah.
All right, so what song do you want me to take you out with?
Your choice, Meg.
My choice? All right. I'm going to go Eyes Without a Face. I know we were talking about Idol before. We're going to go Eyes Without a Face because I love that. So it's definitely, it's probably been one of the songs with the new album that we've been playing a lot, Eyes Without a Face. I know with the EP, Talking in Your Sleep, I think we play that almost to death, actually.
You know what? Eyes was one of the first songs we worked on. It's so close to me. I love Eyes Without a Face so much. Every time we perform it, it's just something nostalgic about it for me. I just love it so much.
I have to admit, I think out of the new album, other than Talking in Your Sleep, which I love from the EP, Eyes Without a Face would have to be my favorite song. So I was like, when I first saw that on the list, I was like, oh, I gotta hear this. I gotta hear this. I was like, oh, this is so good. So yeah, we'll go Eyes Without a Face, and I'll let you guys get back to it. Thanks, Megg. Thanks, Roger, for doing this.